Imagine sinking in a sea of bills, each one pulling you deeper into financial quicksand. That's the reality for many individuals and families today. Debt, an often unavoidable part of life, has become a prevalent issue in our society. It's a heavy burden that can affect not just our wallets but our health and happiness too. The repercussions of poor debt management can be severe, leading to stress, anxiety, and even bankruptcy. But fear not, we are here to navigate the treacherous waters of debt management together. Debt, a four-letter word that sends shivers down many a spine. But what exactly is it? In the simplest terms, debt is money borrowed by one party from another. It's a financial obligation, a promise to pay back the borrowed amount, known as the principal, typically with interest. This interest is how lenders make a profit, and it's also why debt tends to grow over time if left unmanaged. Now let's break down some common types of debt. First, we have credit card debt. This is perhaps the most common type of consumer debt. Essentially, every time you swipe your card, you're borrowing money from a lender. If you don't pay off your balance in full each month, you'll be charged interest on what you owe. Next, we have student loans. This type of debt is incurred by individuals who borrow money to cover the costs of higher education. Student loans are notorious for their high balances and long repayment periods, often lasting several decades. Mortgages are another form of debt. These are loans taken out to purchase property. The property itself serves as collateral for the loan. If you fail to make your payments, the lender can seize the property through a process known as foreclosure. Auto loans are similar to mortgages, but they're used to purchase vehicles. Again, the vehicle serves as collateral for the loan. These are just a few examples of the types of debt one might encounter in life. Each type of debt comes with its own set of terms and conditions, interest rates, and repayment schedules. It's important to understand these details before taking on any form of debt. Remember, debt isn't inherently evil. It's a tool that, when used responsibly, can help you achieve your financial goals. But like any tool, it can cause harm if misused. So, it's important to understand how it works and how to manage it effectively. Understanding your debt is the first step towards managing it effectively. Ever feel like you're caught in a never-ending cycle, making payments but never seeing your debt decrease? Welcome to the relentless world of the debt cycle, a vicious circle where high interest rates and minimum payments conspire to keep you chained to your debt. Let's simplify this with a relatable example. Imagine you're on a treadmill, running at a steady pace. Now think of your debt as a weight tied to your waist. The interest rate is the speed of the treadmill, while your monthly payments are the steps you take. The faster the treadmill, or the higher the interest rate, the harder it becomes to move forward. And if you're only taking small steps, or making minimum payments, you're barely moving forward at all. Interest is the cost of borrowing money. It's how lenders make their profit. But high interest rates can make your debt grow faster than you can pay it off. It's like trying to empty a bathtub with a teaspoon while the tap is still running. Now let's talk about minimum payments. When you only make the minimum payment on your credit card or loan, most of that money goes towards the interest, not the principal. It's like trying to dig a hole in the sand near the water's edge. As soon as you scoop out a handful, the hole fills back up. Together, high interest rates and minimum payments create a debt cycle that can feel impossible to escape. Every month you're scrambling to make payments, but your debt never seems to shrink. It's like being stuck in a maze with no exit in sight. But don't lose hope just yet. Remember, even the most complex mazes have a solution, and so does your debt. It may be challenging, it may require sacrifices, but it's not impossible. All it takes is understanding the cycle and then developing a strategy to break it. Breaking free from this cycle is possible with the right strategies. And in our next scene, we'll discuss some of those strategies and how you can use them to regain control of your financial future. Like any other problem, debt can be tackled with the right set of tools. Now let's dive into the debt management toolbox. This is where we find the strategies and solutions that can help us chip away at debt and ultimately regain control of our financial lives. Firstly, we have budgeting. It's like the trusty hammer in our toolbox. Budgeting is all about understanding where our money comes from, and more importantly, where it's going. It's about creating a plan for our money, so we can make sure it's working for us, not against us. The beauty of budgeting is that it can be as simple or as complex as we need it to be. Next, we find debt consolidation. Think of this as the powerful drill in our toolbox. It's about taking multiple debts and combining them into one. The goal? To simplify our payments and potentially lower our interest rates. But remember, consolidation doesn't reduce the amount we owe. It just makes managing it a bit easier. Then there's debt settlement. This is the saw in our toolbox. It's about negotiating with creditors to pay less than what we owe. It can be a powerful tool, but it's not without its risks. It requires a lump sum payment, and it could negatively impact our credit score. Finally, we have bankruptcy. It's the emergency break glass in case of fire tool. It's about legally eliminating or reducing our debts when we can't repay them. It can provide a fresh start, but it's not a decision to be taken lightly. It has long-term consequences and should be considered as a last resort. Each of these tools has a specific purpose, and they're not one-size-fits-all solutions. Some of us might need the precision of budgeting, while others might require the strength of debt consolidation. It's about understanding our situation and choosing the right tool for the job. Each tool has its own pros and cons, so it's essential to choose wisely. Budgeting might sound boring, but it's one of the most powerful tools in your debt management arsenal. Picture this. You're sailing on a boat. The sea is your finances and the boat is your budget. Without a boat, you're at the mercy of the waves, tossed about without any control. But with a sturdy boat, you're able to navigate the currents and waves, steering towards your destination. That's the power of budgeting. Budgeting is simply a plan for your money. It's about knowing where your money is going rather than wondering where it went. It's the process of creating a plan to spend your money wisely. This spending plan allows you to determine in advance whether you will have enough money to do the things you need to do or would like to do. Budgeting does not mean you have to skimp on everything or live a life of austerity. On the contrary, it gives you control, freedom, and peace of mind. It helps you allocate funds for your needs, wants, savings, and debt repayments. Debt can often feel like a heavy burden, but with a well-planned budget, you can chip away at this mountain bit by bit. A budget can help you identify unnecessary expenses, prioritize your spending, and create a surplus that can be used to pay off your debts faster. Think of budgeting as a fitness routine, but for your finances. Just like physical exercise helps maintain your health, regular budgeting keeps your finances in good shape. It's a habit, a discipline that, when practiced consistently, can lead to significant improvements in your financial health. So if you're looking to manage or reduce your debt, start with a budget. Understand your income, track your expenses, and plan for savings and debt repayment. It may seem daunting initially, but remember, every great journey begins with a single step, and there's no better time to start than now. Remember, budgeting is not about restricting what you spend. It's about making your money work for you, guiding you towards your financial goals and dreams. A well-planned budget is your roadmap to financial freedom. Sometimes managing multiple debts can be overwhelming. That's where debt consolidation and settlement come in. Debt consolidation is like merging several country roads into a superhighway. Imagine having several debts with different interest rates, due dates, and payment amounts. It's like trying to navigate a maze while blindfolded. Debt consolidation takes all these individual debts and combines them into one debt, with a single payment, a single interest rate, and a single due date. It's like taking off the blindfold and seeing a straight path ahead. But how does this work? You take out a new loan, large enough to pay off all your current debts. This new loan often has a lower interest rate than your existing debts, which means you could end up paying less over the long run. Plus, it's easier to manage. Just one payment, one due date, and one interest rate to keep track of. Now let's switch gears and talk about debt settlement. This is a bit like negotiating a truce in a financial war. With debt settlement, you or a company you hire negotiates with your creditors to reduce the amount you owe. It's like saying, hey, I can't pay back the full amount, but what if I give you 70% now, and we call it even? Both of these methods, consolidation and settlement, have potential benefits. They can reduce stress, lower your monthly payments, and potentially save you money in the long run. But they're not without their drawbacks. Consolidation loans often require good credit, which might be a challenge if you're already struggling with debt. And settlement can hurt your credit score. Not to mention it often involves fees. These are just two tools in the toolbox of debt management. They're powerful, but they're not magic wands. They require careful thought, planning, and sometimes a little negotiation. These tools can simplify your debts, but they're not without their risks. When all else fails, there's one final tool in the debt management toolbox: bankruptcy. The word itself might send shivers down your spine, but it's not the end of the world. Rather, it's a new beginning. Bankruptcy is a legal process that can provide a fresh start to individuals or businesses drowning in debt. Let's break it down. Bankruptcy is a complex process governed by federal law, designed to help people and businesses eliminate their debts or repay them under the protection of the bankruptcy court. There are different types of bankruptcy, most commonly Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 for individuals. Chapter 7, also known as liquidation bankruptcy, involves selling off your non-exempt assets to repay as much of your debt as possible. Chapter 13, on the other hand, is a reorganization bankruptcy, where you set up a repayment plan to pay off your debts over a period of 3 to 5 years. Now, it's crucial to understand that bankruptcy isn't without its implications. It can have a significant impact on your credit score and may stay on your credit report for up to 10 years. This can make it challenging to get credit, buy a home, or sometimes even get a job. Moreover, not all debts can be discharged in bankruptcy. For instance, student loans, child support, and tax debts typically cannot be eliminated. So, when should one consider bankruptcy? It's a tough decision, but sometimes it's the best option when you're unable to meet your debt obligations, and other debt management strategies have not worked. It can provide a way out, a chance to wipe the slate clean and start anew. But remember, it's not a decision to be taken lightly. It's essential to thoroughly evaluate your financial situation, understand the consequences, and seek advice from a financial advisor or a bankruptcy attorney. Bankruptcy is a serious decision and should only be considered as a last resort. It's the final tool in your debt management toolbox. And while it can provide relief, it comes with its own set of challenges. Just like any tool, it's all about knowing when and how to use it wisely. Debt management might seem daunting, but with the right strategies and tools, you can regain control of your finances. Just like the story of the tortoise and the hare, the journey to financial freedom is not about speed, but rather about steady, consistent progress. Today we've taken an in-depth look at the world of debt, understanding its nature and the cycle it can create if left unchecked. We've explored the toolbox that can help us manage this debt, from budgeting to consolidation, and even the last resort of bankruptcy. Each of these tools has its place in the fight against debt. Understanding debt, for instance, is the equivalent of understanding your enemy in battle. It's about recognizing the different types of debt, good debt versus bad debt, and how interest rates can compound over time. It's about realizing that debt is not inherently evil, but rather a tool that, when used wisely, can help us achieve our goals. Then we have budgeting, the cornerstone of any good debt management plan. It's like the compass guiding us through the wilderness of personal finance. It helps us understand where our money is going, and more importantly, it empowers us to direct where it should go. Debt consolidation and settlement offer us a way to simplify our debts, making them easier to manage. They can also potentially lower interest rates, saving us money in the long run. However, like any tool, they need to be used with caution. We must always remember that these are not magic solutions that make debt disappear, but rather strategies to make debt more manageable. And finally, we've discussed bankruptcy, the last resort when all other options have been exhausted. It's not a step to be taken lightly, but sometimes it's the best course of action for those drowning in insurmountable debt. It offers a fresh start, a chance to wipe the slate clean and begin anew. But remember, these tools and strategies are just that, tools and strategies. They can help guide us on the path to financial freedom, but they cannot walk the path for us. That responsibility lies with us. We must make the decisions, take the actions, and most importantly, we must make the commitment to regain control of our finances. So, as we wrap up our discussion today, remember that the path to financial freedom is not a sprint but a marathon. It requires patience, discipline, and perseverance. But most importantly, it requires action. Remember, the path to financial freedom starts with a single step: taking control of your debt.